Right, let's do it. What was your bad? Come on. This was a weird one because Maui's gone with like everyone else is going like I picked this player. He's gone with an existential concept here. Like, come on, what's your bad here?
Yeah, so my bad is that I noticed this really. It became really obvious yesterday in the Blast overtime. They're kind of post show that's very blind spot-esque. The James Banks asked Semler, Launders, and Maniac, who do you guys think is going to do badly when it goes back to LAN? And it was just this like wishy-washy. Like wishy-washy answer.
Did they sort of say no one basically?
Like whereas like all these like Maniac finally kind of said like maybe heroic. But like he has to see it or whatever.
Ooh,
I want people to like. There's this prevalent fear of being wrong in this community, and it's kind of like I don't think you should let yourself remain. If you make a bad statement, don't double down on it. You don't have to like keep being bad. Don't keep being stupid. Like that's just disingenuous to the viewer and everybody you're leading on at that point. But you can make I think making a prediction and sticking with it when you're an expert on something like that, come on, like I trust Maniac. Like if he thinks heroic's bad, I want him to say it. And I know it's his like good guy, gentleman personality, his persona that he's using, that is like, like he doesn't want to criticize anybody. But like if a host asks a question, like who's going to be bad? Like it's our job as analysts and just, entertainers in this space to answer that. And I think that if you're not ready to do that, like I'm not going to like say like none of those people should leave. I think they're all great, but I'm just saying like, if this were like a more evolved scene, like it's just kind of like get out of the way and let somebody that's like ready to like go out on a limb, go for it. Because you just need to have like opinions on things like that. Like if you think somebody's going to fail, like just say it. Like I think right now one of the only people that are kind of like willing to do that consistently are probably you, Thorin, and Pimp. I think both of you guys are very willing to just call anybody out all the time.
And maybe Sponge when he was an analyst a bit, but even he would sometimes play a bit safe, I have to say. He would give him like the benefit of the doubt, I think. What do you think about this topic, Yumi?
Yeah, I think sometimes people rush a little bit too much to make like over egregious claims. I remember when Valorant was kind of first starting that it felt like the analyst desks were actually trying too hard to have like contrarian points of view, which also felt disingenuous. But like I understand that adds some of the drama to the game, but some of the stuff just felt like factually wrong in a lot of takes. Like I understand like you want to have this hot off the presses take. If it comes true, you have 100% accuracy. You're the craziest guy on the desk, maybe. But yeah, I think playing it too safe also just feels just far too wrong. Like it just feels off because you're almost lying to yourself. Like, oh yeah, I think Spirit could be top 1 team in the world at the moment. Like, no, I mean, do I? Yeah. Probably not. But especially if you want to pander, I think with so much influence of like the public on who's being brought onto desks, like I've actually heard of like, oh, we've had complaints about you publicly during some of the hiring processes. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the reason why people play it safe, because if suddenly you've got an opinion, now there's like ammunition for people to use that against you.
Yes. I will say that I think certain talent can get away with it. I think once you kind of get into a certain circuit. Yeah, well, once you get into, I think probably the Blast circuit, ESL, like top of the ESL circuit, when you're getting a lot of when you're working over 120 days a year, like for tier 1 events, I think you can go out on a limb a little bit more. And I think you can do that stuff. I don't give this advice to casters at the tier 2, 3 level, because that's just like backseat gaming during a cast sounds bad, but in a kind of a round table circular setting, even like on a YouTube channel or on a post-game show or a pre-show, like any of that, I think that it's very worthwhile to create a back and forth, and it's more entertaining. And I think one person who is really good at it is, I think Moses was doing this a lot. Like when he was on desks, I think I was pretty sure he was just taking opposite opinions just to do it, and then he would try his hardest to defend it as long as he could. Okay. And it just made the whole thing sound better. Maybe Moses was always thinking that, but sometimes I thought he was just being contrarian for the sake of it, but it was entertaining. Like that's what I'm getting at. It was more fun because of that.
It goes without saying, obviously, it's not a problem I've ever had. It's basically some. No. I have a special reason why, though, which is an origin story a lot of people don't, which is I've always said I never tried to become a caster or an analyst, etc. I sort of just backdoored my way into it when there wasn't anyone doing it. And in doing so, by the way, because I came in at the first event in CSGO that had that sort of real, like, massive approach, I could also sort of do what I wanted. You know, there weren't other people, there weren't even pro players on the desk at the time. I'm basically like the one person who wasn't a pro who was there because all the pros came later. So the other thing people probably wouldn't understand is because I used to be a journalist and I used to always keep my opinions to myself. Now it was a chance to give my opinions, and I've always had, like, you know, my own thoughts on who's good, who's bad. And I also used to think back then, I know it'll sound weird now because you can sort of be like a forced celebrity if you're a journalist now, but back then you were just the shit on everyone's shoe. You were bottom of the totem pole, and it meant that everyone looked down on you. So I also just have like that fearlessness where it's like I've already been treated by shit by all your favourite players, or at least I was a decade ago. So as a result, guess what? If they play bad, you know what? I'll take this one, boys. Crack the knuckles. Like, there we go. Now I'm swinging the hammer. It's not too fun, is it now? Yeah, now it's not just me outside your hotel room knocking on the door when you said we could do an interview at 8 p.m. and you're not answering while I can hear you playing football inside FIFA and all laughing. Yeah, I'm the one on the desk laughing now, aren't I? That's right. It's some sort of fucked up Joker type movie, but starring me as a CSGO analyst. And maybe it was all in my head the whole time. No, but I will say this. It reminds me, I also agree with you, by the way, on the double down point, Mauisnake. Make the bold statement, because what you're trying to do there, by the way, is intuit something that no one else has said yet. Like I've done it many times. Maybe this player's getting a bit overhyped in some way. Maybe this team's like, they're good, but let's see when someone figures this out. But obviously, if you then turn out to be wrong, you switch because you're an analyst.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you the best example ever, because people think this is like the most epic dunk on me, that they've got me completely. Everyone remembers the epic Star Ladder quarterfinal between Team Liquid and Astralis. And what was the first map that Astralis picked that shocked everyone in the veto? Everyone thought that Vertigo would go through to a decider or second veto ban by Team Liquid, right? No, Astralis picks it right out the gate. Now, because at the time, they hadn't shown aptitude on this map. They'd even lost it to Team Liquid when they played it. And it was a map that Team Liquid had won 5-0. And that's why no one was picking it as a punish pick into Team Liquid. I remember doing on Analysis Desk and tweeting and basically saying, like, this looks like a really scared pick from Astralis, actually. This looks like they realised they're not going to win, and they've gambled on the one map that, like, they think Team Liquid won't be prepared for. And then who the fuck even knows if Astralis is, right? Like, they haven't been using it before this, and they were in tough spots in the Swiss. Now, when they then won and clearly had practiced it and clearly had a sense of what they were doing and won the series off the back of it, well, then after that, I did a tweet where I basically said it's a genius pick. Now, every fan was like, you idiot, you said it was a coward pick, but then it's a genius. I'll just quote the classic quote that some of you might know. It was by John Maynard Keynes. It says, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do, sir?" Straight fire, by the way. A banter even back in the old days. That's what you have to do. Listen, you're a moron if you just double down 7 times. You're just wrong every time, aren't you?
Well, that's how Stephen A. Smith sometimes gets.
They all do it on TV, don't they, mate? That's the whole style they have. Their idea is the reason they can endlessly argue is they just never ever agree. It's like they've agreed to never agree. Down. Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it? I know. Yeah. It's so stupid, isn't it?
Even when a team wins, they'll just be like, they got lucky. That was just a lucky shot.
Oh, dude. Okay. Here's the thing. I genuinely, you'll never see me tweet about this. I don't ever actually trash talk Skip Bayless because, first of all, his persona is a little bit like mine. Like, I don't know if you know this, but he's not actually making those takes up. Like, if you actually know this guy's career, he's been around a long time, by the way, and he was saying edgy shit in the 90s when he was a journalist. He isn't making, I know people think he sits around like a Machiavellian character making up the take that'll anger you the most. It's not. He's a bit like me. He's just got a chip on his shoulder and he has his own totally unique perspective and he doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks about it, by the way. He'll just say it anyway. But I will say this. He has probably the maddest sort of analytical flaw I've ever seen of a really good analyst who's like making millions, successful, which is this. He will literally say that if your guy wins the game, he was lucky, but then he'll say when like Tom Brady loses the game that the receiver dropped the pass. So it's like, oh my God. So not only am I not allowed to win, but if you lose, you should still win. Like, that's unbeatable. Like, you've You've actually fucking, that's it,
He's
you've beaten
cornered the market
Analysis.
on it.
Yeah. Now no one can ever win, Skip. How have you done that, mate? Like, it's also, like, let's be honest, that is a bit disingenuous just logically in it. So, like,
Yeah,
I don't go that far, mate. Like, I've always said, I even said this to a lot of pro players, and a lot of them actually eased up on, like, getting butthurt about me criticising them. I always said to them, look, I'll tell you what, I bet it's fucking enjoyable, though, when you win that game where I said, like, you know, like, NIP's going to lose to Envy or something. I bet it's fucking enjoyable when you see me on that big screen and I have to sort of eat humble pie and go, well, great game by NIP, they totally outplayed them. That moment's pretty nice, isn't it? I said, you know, it goes both ways. Definitely goes both ways.
I called out ZTR before he joined NIP when they first announced that signing, and then I talked shit about him, and then when they won against the Strauss, Hampus replies LOL to my tweet. Like, I mean, it goes both ways. It's fine.
Okay.
Like, it's not like I don't feel butthurt because of that or anything. Like, I think if you're just wrong a couple times, you get over it pretty fast. Yeah. Being a heel at times makes a broadcast more exciting.
If you notice as well, by the way, I always get pimps back when he makes those big comments against Attack. And the reason why, by the way, is he was one of the guys I was always trying to challenge to do this in the green room. Because he used to have great edgy takes back in the day, but he would just say that in the green room. Then he'd go on the desk and say, you know, all the professional polite things that you're supposed to say, like, everyone's good, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, where are we going to go on this, Yumi?
I think it's always, like, it's interesting to see whether things actually develop that way or not. I feel like I've actually just lost my point, to be quite honest. I had like a better idea because I thought Gambit were going to be shit, but then they're the best team in the world. So it's just like it's that quote you're using, right? Where the facts change, you know, you have to change your opinion basically. And if you try and make something up, even if it is like court of public opinion, some of these takes that might come onto the desk, I think that's even valuable. That's what makes upset games, in my opinion, exciting, is because everybody thinks the other team is going to win, and now suddenly this underdog is kind of come through, and that adds to the drama, and that builds the connection, I think.
Put it this way, I definitely don't agree with the approach that, like, actually Maui was describing, where I don't believe you should ever sort of, like, shadow box when you don't believe it. In my opinion, analysis is that you're paid to give your actual opinion and perspective. Like, we're not paying for, like, what someone else might be able to argue who isn't you. I'll just hire them if you don't want to do it, mate. So I personally hate the idea that, like, well, we can't all say that they're going to win, but you know what? I'll give you a little teaser. I'm saving that for a script I've already got written, which is just called, like, Analysis Desk Peeves or something. And it's basically just all the shit I hate that all my fellow analysts do. And so here's the best part, Mauisnake, is if you know my style, because here's another weird thing about my personality, is I don't actually get into a lot of conflicts with any of the people I like, because what I do is, if I like you, I don't attack you publicly. I just sort of take your idea. You might be the only person who expressed that idea, so it might be like, well, that's a bit... But then I'll just take your idea, I'll remove your name, and I'll just attack it, and it's totally wrong. And so basically, like... a lot of people are going to watch it, and you know that, like, meme of, like, I feel I've spoken to or addressed someone, like, it's going to be like that. You're going to feel called out, some of the people in the analyst scene, but it had to be done. It had to be done because some of them have just gone on too long. The bullshit has to stop, boys.
Just one more thing I would relate this whole thing to is kind of like when you're dating someone or getting into a relationship with someone, you kind of think, like, why do you like something? And I don't have to like that thing, but I have to like the reason why you like that thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same on the analyst desk. Like, I don't have to respect that you dislike something, but if you can tell me why you dislike something, or you think something's going to fail, or some player is bad, I can respect it because of that. But just throwing out needless, like, Nico's shit, and it's just like, why do you think that? And you don't have a reason, then you look kind of dumb on there. So
yes, yeah, exactly. Just have a good reason, like he didn't pay $400 bar tab about 6 years ago, or whatever it was at this point. No, I
just need to know where it's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.